congratulations on the win. How are you feeling?
Oh, it was a very good win. Never an easy place to play. I think they're a very, very good footballing side. And so are we. And I think probably for the neutral it was an excellent game. Real finals type football game, and both teams just having a good crack at each other, and pleased for many things. You know, we were disciplined with our structure. We were disciplined about the way we wanted to play. It was probably the most grittiest win that we've had since I've been here. So really pleasing, and with the way the competition is, the ladder is, it's all pretty tight. There were 3 important points.
Mate, you're a pretty young side. I think you had a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old score. How important is this kind of youth setup to you?
Very important. Academy is doing a great job, and it's done a great job for many, many years. And being able to see, I've only been here a short time, but just to be able to see those players develop and perform on a daily basis, a weekly basis. You know, things are going really well for them at the moment, and we've had to rely on a lot of them this year because of the amount of injuries we've had. But I think we plan that in terms of our pre-season. I think I've said it before, you know, most of the boys that were on the pitch or on the bench with us, and some that are at home, they've done most of the pre-season with us anyway. So it's not that it's unknown to them in terms of what we have to do. And all we can do is lead them and show them, and at the end they have to do that on the pitch. So pleasing for Maxi scoring a goal, and after coming back from a broken ankle, and Ale, I think it's been probably about a year since he last played, and he had a strong performance, scored a nice goal, and Medin as well. But overall, the whole team, it's great we're relying on those guys, and great that they're able to develop and show that they're not afraid to play in big games. And we spoke about that at the beginning of the game. This was a game that you really have to show some personality. A game like this against Sydney, it's never easy for the younger players, but I thought they handled themselves really well.
Tilio with 2 assists as well must be pretty good to see him having to come back. Well, he didn't play from soccer and just fit seamlessly back in there.
Yeah, well, I think with Kai as is, and Tills, they just turned up on Thursday mid-morning and went home and rested and came back just for a light session yesterday. And then we travelled, and they really didn't miss a beat. They came back on, showed what their quality, what qualities they have, and we know what Tills is like. He's probably on his day, probably the best winger in the competition, and great dribbler, can score goals, can make assists. And this year we've been trying to get a lot of consistency out of him, and you know, he's done very well, and Aziz was enormous. I think all of them, you know, Sammy, Beachy, I can go through the whole list. Today was a real professional team performance.
Do you feel like the young guys are kind of making it a little bit more competitive for some of the guys who are injured right now to come back into the squad?
Well, we need competition, so and the senior players are never afraid of that, and younger players have to be the same. You know, if we've had many, let's say Cavian, for example, who has started probably our last 5 or 6 games and didn't start tonight, but then came on and performed well. So there's competition for places all the time. It's how it should be. It's not just at this club. I think every club has that or wants that.
Also, Max Caputo, can you just kind of talk about like his mental strength to kind of come off injury and then to play, you know, this well and be such an instrumental part of the team today? Can you just speak to that?
Yeah, Max is, as I said before, Max broke his ankle in pre-season, so that recovery was pretty tough for him. And then when you come back from an injury like that, you know, psychologically it can become quite tough. And he's got a great attitude. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's done a hell of a lot of work to get himself to this position again. And And when you come back from an injury like that, as a player, you always think that I'm going to be back at the same level that I was prior to the injury, but it's never the case. And, you know, he had a few demons 3 or 4 weeks back where he was a little bit frustrated because, you know, his touch wasn't quite there, or he wasn't able to finish the chances that he had. But it's a sign of a quality person, firstly, and a quality player, that those times that you do miss those opportunities, he just keeps going back in there and keeps going back in there, keeps going back in there. And when you do that, you know your head's screwed on properly, and you get the reward. And not just the goals, but the amount of work he does for us in that front third is enormous. So, and Ali, we can say about Ali Lapani the same, because he had a pretty serious knee injury that you know, could have gone either way in terms of how much longer he would have played. And he, again, psychologically, you know, that first couple of tackles when you come back into training, the first shot, the first turn, all those sorts of things play in your mind. But again, like Max, he just worked his backside off and put himself in a good position, and you know, hasn't played for a year, and to play the way he did tonight, it was a true testament of his character.
There was a VAR check for a penalty in the first half. Obviously, didn't get it. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I think I'm not going to go into it tonight, and I think, you know, our process has been right through the season. We'll speak to John Moss during the course of the week, like we always do when we have any concerns or any issues that pop up, and get a bit more clarification from them.
Do you think there was some confusion with the Lions, given there were some remnants of the NRL games?
Yeah, I'm not sure. One's red and one's white, right? So probably no confusion.
Guys.
Thank you.